Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to my top 10 worst video games of 2012. Now, 2012 for video games, many people would say it was very mediocre or just decent year. I thought it was fantastic. I had so many games that I actually gave a perfect 10 out of 10 to because I thought they were such an amazing experience that it blew me away. It really did. So I thought last year was one of the best gaming years of all time, in my opinion. Not just decent or good, just amazing. But also you had the crap. You also had the stuff that just was not worth your time. And that is what I'm here to count down to before I get to my top 20 best games of 2012. I gotta do the crap. So let's do it. Let's get straight into it with, of course, my number 10. Never Dead, which comes from developer Rebellion, which of course has made some of the most critically acclaimed games like Shell Shock 2, Rogue Warrior, and Alien vs. Predator from 2010. And this game, I will admit, is not as bad as those other games, even though I really liked AVP. That was my own personal taste. But this is not as bad as Rogue Warrior or Shell Shock 2. Definitely not. Especially when you look at stuff like the graphics and even some of the production values, especially the CG cutscenes and even some of the voice acting. It definitely looks like it's a well-made, polished game. If you saw some like screenshots or maybe even a little bit of gameplay, you'd probably think this is a AAA title. But it's definitely not that great. I mean, you know, story itself is kind of fun. It's entertaining. The characters aren't that bad. You kind of like them. But the thing that I really didn't like about this game is the gameplay. The gameplay is so monotonous, so repetitive. It bored me to tears. I couldn't play it anymore because it was like, oh, this is the same thing over and over again. Kill these dudes with sword, kill these dudes with gun. The gun and the sword combat isn't really that fulfilling at all, and I just couldn't care. I really couldn't care, especially since the story, while decent, is not great enough for me to go through the really sluggish combat. So for the most part, Never Dead is not that great, but it's not horrible. So my number 10 worst game of 2012 is Never Dead. Game of Thrones, the video game, which is one of the buggiest, ugliest games I've played in 2012. Now the thing is, ugly, graphics wise, you know, I don't really care for that as long as the gameplay is good. But the gameplay is very KOTOR, you know, Knights of the Old Republic-esque, or maybe even Dragon Age Origins-esque. But it just feels bland. It feels like it's been ripped off of other games, and it's just not fulfilling. Now, sure, there's a lot of stuff to do in this game. It's an open world game. You could do side missions, you could do the story missions and stuff. But to be honest, I don't see why. At least I wouldn't do any of this stuff because I think the story here, while well written, is very, very boring. It's just very slow. None of the characters really are likable. I mean, Game of Thrones doesn't have likable characters, but there's no characters that are interesting in this game, no one that I remember. I just couldn't get into this game at all, and like I said, the game is buggy, even during some of the, you know, gameplay sections, and some of the story sections and side mission sections that I played, I encountered a couple of bugs, including one that actually froze the game. So yeah, there's some bad bugs in this game. It's very ugly, and I thought the gameplay wasn't that great, but it is a very well written game, and it's big and has a lot of stuff in it, so that's why it's not way lower on the list, but it's enough to take my number 9 spot, Game of Thrones, the video game. It's been 10, I've got a watch with aliens, I can turn into them, that's how his theme song goes, right? Anyway, Ben 10 Omniverse is my number 8 worst game of 2012 because I wasn't looking forward to it. I was not, but I was looking for a decent little brawler here, and what I got was one of the most repetitious, one of the most boring brawlers ever. That I was perplexed by this game because this game has 10 different aliens in it, maybe even more, I'm not even sure, but 10 different aliens in it, and each one is boring as hell to play as. And yes, I do know this is for kids, but it's just so slow and so tedious. Oh my god, you just press X, 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 and some games are good like that. I mean, look at Batman Arkham Asylum. They made that work, but this game is just not. It's not fun, it's not clever, and its writing, it's just not for me. But you know what, it shouldn't be for anybody because the game is bad. It's bad, don't play it. You know, kids, go play good games. Don't play this because it has Ben 10 on it. Don't go play SpongeBob games. Don't go play any of that bull. Go play good games like Halo. That's a good game. Or or Dead Space 3. That's for kids. That's a good game for kids. So yeah, Ben 10. I didn't like it. Deep Black for the Xbox Live Arcade and the PC is not only one of the worst shooters of this year, but it's probably the worst title I've heard in a very long time, along with stuff like Red Johnson. There's a game called Red Johnson, which sounds like a sequel to Deep Black. It sounds like they should be together in one title. Deep Red Johnson Black. It was, oh, gross. But anyway, Deep Black is one of the worst shooters I've played this year because it is a shooter that's so generic. All you do is just go around, cover, it's a cover-based shooter. You go into cover, you shoot a bunch of dudes. Sometimes they get tired and they do that stupid AI thing where they all run at you at once, which is horrible. I hate that in any game, and this is probably the worst culprit of AI stupidity I've seen in a very long time. And you just go around shooting a bunch of people with some really lame guns, a terrible story, bad voice acting that you just do not want to listen to at all. And for the most part, it's a very generic shooter until you get into the underwater sequences, which there's plenty of. Most of the game was actually underwater. And when you're underwater, the controls are so annoying. There's so many dumb things you have to do, like, oh shit, there's a mine there. Oh, he's going to grab you. You better take him off before he blows up. Oh, you have to open this door. Oh, there's an underwater enemy. Take cover behind this pipe thing and shoot him. It's just so monotonous, so repetitive. And Ben 10 was repetitive, don't get me wrong, but this game is made more for me, and it actually had somewhat of a unique premise with the underwater sequences, but it's terrible. The controls are not good. The gameplay is just so boring. I mean, sure, it works. The shooting's fine, but it's still very boring. The story's horrible. The sound, like I said, is horrible, especially some of the sound effects and a lot of the glitches. Oh my god, there's so many glitches in this game. I just didn't care for this game at all. So Deep Black, even though it's a $10 game, I bought it for $5. If this was a $60 game, this would be number one easily, but because it's like $5 when I bought it, it's not horrible. So it's not outright terrible. It's bad, but it's not outright like, oh my god. So anyway, there you go, Deep Black. Madagascar 3, the video game, which again is a kid-oriented game, but you know what? This one I feel like I should put it on here because not only is it a terribly made game, it's a terribly made game for kids because I don't see how kids could find this enjoyable. All you do is you roam around a little hub, make sure people don't see you because you're a fucking lion walking around. That makes sense, right? And you just and you collect stupid things like balloons and I don't know, just dumb stuff. I can't remember what you collect, but you collect little things by jumping on stuff, figuring things out. Like, it's like a puzzle game sort of, but it's a horrible platforming puzzle game. It's so bad. It really is. The graphics are terrible. It barely follows the plot of the movie, of course. The sound, of course, there's no voice actors from the movie. It's just a badly implemented game with some terrible mini games and some terrible platforming segments. I do not recommend this game at all. I hated it. I really did. So there you go. Madagascar 3, the video game. Go pick it up. If you do it, I'll kill you. I will kill you. Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified, which is a game I was hoping wasn't going to be bad because I didn't want to put a Vita game on my top 10 worst because the Vita just came out earlier last year and I didn't want to put a worst game on the list from a brand new console. I just don't like doing that. And of course, the last Vita game to freaking come out with the biggest brand name almost of all time for video games, Call of Duty Declassified, had to be the worst freaking portable game I played all year. Oh my god. Good job there, Nihilistic Games. You had one job, and that is make it feel like Call of Duty, and for the most part, you didn't really do that. It did not feel like a Call of Duty game, even though the controls felt like it, the guns, the look of it did, but the mission structure is horrible. Each mission can last up to a minute to 4 minutes long, and there's only 10 of them, so you could beat this game if you rush through it and you're really good at it, and you don't get frustrated like me and want to throw your PS Vita across the freaking room. You can beat this in about 40 to 50 minutes. That's it. And then the multiplayer here is just so tacked on bull crap. It's so bad. It's just not even worth playing at all. And the extra little mission thing, the little time trial thing, is bull, because all it is that training mission you get in every single freaking Call of Duty game where you have to like knife things and then shoot things. It's not worth it. The $50 price tag, hell, even for $20, this is not worth it, because the missions are so annoying, because all the enemies just like gang up on you and attack you, and it doesn't matter how many bullets you let fly, you will die. It doesn't matter what freaking difficulty you put it on. I put it on the easiest one, and most of the missions I couldn't make it through, even though they're like 2 or 3 minutes long. And when you die, you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the mission, which is annoying. You know, getting all the way to the end, dying, going back, have to kill all those enemies, making sure that you don't die along the way, go at the end, die, do it all again. It's just extremely frustrating. I could not do it. I hate this game. It's such a badly implemented Call of Duty game on the PS Vita, and it deserves all the horrible scores it's getting. Screw this game. It's bad. So yeah, there you go. Call of Duty on the PS Vita. Whew! Let's go into number 4. Amy, which is on both Xbox Live Arcade and the PSN, and this is a game I was kind of looking forward to before it came out, like a couple weeks before, because I was reading up on some stuff. I saw some gameplay trailers, the regular like launch trailer for it. I was like, you know what, this looks pretty damn good, and for $10 it could be a really good survival horror game. We played it, of course. I'm not talking about just me. I said we for a reason. Everybody played it, and everybody was like, what am I looking at? It was glitchy. It wasn't scary. It was bull. It was just so badly made because of a lot of stuff. First of all, the combat is horrible in this game. The AI is just it just knows everything. The AI knows everything. Even if you're behind something and obviously not visible to the enemies, they will see you. The AI for your little companion, Amy, is stupid as all hell. All the little puzzles that you have in this game are just dumb and just frustrating. If you die, you go all the way back to a checkpoint, and the checkpoint could be like 20 minutes before a part you were at, and you have to go all the way there and die again. It's a lot like Call of Duty in a way. And the worst part is, if you like, the chapters themselves are about, I would say, like 45 to an hour to an hour long. And if you do not like beat a chapter and you shut your console off and try to go back, it will start the chapter all the way from the beginning, and that 45 to an hour can be so much longer if you get frustrated and just keep dying and keep dying. This game could last you like 20 hours, you know, even though it's like a 3.5 hour game. So this game is not well made, and no one should play it, especially people that love survival horror, because you will be extremely disappointed like I was. So number 4 is Amy. 007 Legends, which was a game I was very much looking forward to. I really was, because I am a huge fan of 007. Love all the older movies. Now, I haven't seen all of them, of course, but I've seen all of the really damn good ones. And I heard this is going to be a game that has like 7 of the really damn good ones, including Skyfall that just came out. It's going to have all of them, and Daniel Craig's going to be playing all of the Bonds from all these movies that they pick to be in this game, in the campaign, of course. And it's going to be sick. It's going to be cool. You're gonna get to relive some of the awesome moments of these movies that you love. And I was like, you know what? Sweet. I can't wait. And I played it. It's one of the worst shooters I have had the displeasure of playing. It is not only one of the worst shooters of 2012, it's one of the worst of all time, because it's a 007 game where you do not feel like you're 007. You feel like you're any Call of Duty character, and really all the guns are bad. When you're shooting enemies, it doesn't even feel that great. It really doesn't. The AI is, again, stupid. They run at you. They just let their heads just be there so you can shoot them. And there's so many little sequences, like there's a snowmobile chase, and there's some button sequences where you have to press, you know, A or B to kill Blofeld or kill Oddjob or kill any of the other villains you face off in this game. And all the different movies that are in this film that you get to play, in this movie that you get to, in this game, Jesus Christ, I just want to see the movies instead. In this game that you get to play are so terribly interwoven into one another. It's just so cheap would be the best word to describe this. It feels so cheap. I don't even know what else word. It just feels like something that they were like, you know what, we should get all the 007 fans in there, so let's just take some of the most popular 007 movies and put them into one game. And it just failed miserably. So 007 Legends, do not play it, especially if you're a James Bond fan like me. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, which, if you told me Resident Evil 6 was the worst Resident Evil game of last year, I would smack you around like one of the Stooges from Three Stooges, and then I would poop on you, because this is the worst Resident Evil game, not only of last year, but I think of all time. I haven't played Survivor or that Dead Aim game or whatever, but this I think is the worst Resident Evil game of all time, because this takes a beloved franchise that is a survival horror game. Even Resident Evil 6 to some extent has some survival horror elements. This game just takes that and says, you know what? Action game. Let's make it SOCOM with Resident Evil. Just zombies. And it is horribly constructed. The AI, again, I keep talking about AI, but again, it's a big thing in games. Your AI teammates are some of the dumbest sons of bitches I've ever seen in a game. They will get themselves killed, and you have to play this game online if you have the displeasure of playing it, because you will have some of the dumbest teammates of all time. Even if you play with a 5-year-old kid, you'll have better teammates than the ones you have in this game with the AI. It's horrible. The shooting just feels unfulfilling, especially since every time you shoot a gun, the reticle flies everywhere. Whenever you shoot a zombie, they explode and stuff, and that should be good, and it's not. You fight mostly human enemies, and the cover system's one of the worst, stickiest pieces of crap I've ever seen in a game. It's just not fun. It really isn't. And the multiplayer, it's okay. I'll admit that it's okay multiplayer if you can get over how terrible the gameplay is, okay, because it is bad. Because some of them are actually kind of cool. The little modes that you get in the multiplayer are kind of cool, but the gameplay is just so bad. The story is just so terrible. Again, it's one of those, I feel like it's another cash-in for nothing, really. It's just a cash-in just because, hey, it's Resident Evil, buy it. Not because the movie was coming out. This came out way before the movie, or even Resident Evil 6 came out, or anything. This is just, hey, buy it because it has Resident Evil on it, yay! And it's bad, it really is. So Operation Raccoon City is number 2 on the worst games of 2012, but the thing is, what is number 1? Well, we'll find out now. The number 1 worst game of 2012 is Battleship the video game. Is my number 1 worst video game of 2012, and I will tell you exactly why here. While Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified had very limited content, at least it had multiplayer that if you did like, then you can, play that anywhere you go. And I will admit the multiplayer is bad, but I could see if someone could like it. This game, Battleship the video game, has a 2.5-hour campaign, which is horrible. The shooting mechanics are bad. The enemies become overpowered as hell at the end of the game. It becomes extremely frustrating. The controls aren't even that good. The story is non-existent. They start repeating environments just by like switching the layout a little bit, and that's about it. And it becomes one of the most frustrating games I've played in a very long time. It's 2.5 hours long. There's no replay value. There's shit. I don't believe I beat it the first time, even though it's like 2.5 hours long. And there's no multiplayer, nothing else. And it was a $60 game when it came out. Now, this would make sense if it was a $20, maybe $30 game. $30 is still way too much. But, $20, maybe even $10 arcade game. Sure, I'll give it that. But this game is $60 when it came out. I don't know how much it is now. It's $60 when it came out, and that blew my mind. The game is just downright horrible, and some of the worst shooting mechanics, some of the worst level design, some of the worst enemy AI I have seen in a game ever. This game is bullcrap. It is horrible. Fuck this game. And I hated myself because when I reviewed this, I gave it like a 4 out of 10, maybe a 3.5 out of 10, and it deserves way lower than that. It really does. The only reason why I gave it a decent score is because the graphics were okay, and the strategy elements in the game were decent. But you know what? Even the strategy elements felt tacked on, and even frustrated me at the end. If you watch my walkthrough, I did the entire walkthrough. Watch the last part because I got frustrated so much I had to actually edit a whole 30-minute sequence out of it, where I just cursed at the screen over and over again and just got pissed. I got so pissed, and it was embarrassing, to be honest. And this game is the worst game of 2012, and I'm sorry, it is. I don't care if it's a movie game. I don't care if it was a game made by a cancer patient. I don't give a damn. You made a horrible game, and Battleship the video game is not only the worst game I've played this year, but it's one of the worst games of all time. So there you go. Battleship the video game. Horrible. And I hope the people that made this get closed down. Thank you, and goodbye.